My name is Sandra Willis. I am 47 years old and I was diagnosed with colorectal cancer in April 2011. That experience for me was definitely a shock. My lifestyle consists of working out 6 days a week, eating clean, eating healthy, no sugar. So it was definitely a shock to me when I got the diagnosis. Um, what was unique about my case was that I didn't have any polyps. So normally when you're diagnosed without any polyps, your staging is a little far off than what it's expected to be. You're going to either be stage 3 or stage 4. Unfortunately, I was stage 3 at that time. In the midst of all of that, I was also given a colostomy bag because a bowel obstruction is what initially brought me into the hospital. So I'm kind of grateful for the bowel obstruction because if I hadn't had the bowel obstruction, I never would have known that I had cancer. Getting adjusted to the colostomy bag is a lifestyle change. It definitely can change your life as far as the type of clothes you can wear. You become very conscious of your body, what's going on with your body, all the bad things that can come with the colostomy. I experienced all those things. I even experienced a bag bursting on me in public. So that's kind of the downfall. But after a couple of months, I realized I didn't have to love it, but I had to like it because at that point, it was saving my life. So after 24 rounds of chemo, I was able to have the colostomy removed, and they initially told me in order for me to have the colostomy removed, I had to be cancer free. So, to my understanding, with the removal of the colostomy bag, I was cancer free. So, while I'm cancer free, I'm living a normal life. I'm trying to live my life and get some normalcy back to it as much as I can. And it did consist of going back out, being around friends and living life, being Sandra. So, July of 2013, I decided I was going to move to Arlington, Virginia. I moved to Virginia, packed up my bags, packed up my things. I wanted a new life with my cancer-free life. This was just a whole new beginning for me. Before I could stick the key in my door of my brand new apartment in Virginia, I felt sick. I felt so sick that I couldn't walk. It was just that instant. And the symptoms, they were familiar. And I'm praying to myself, I'm saying, Lord, I hope this is not cancer. And it's so important that you get educated on cancer, because I guess when you're cancer free, I just had no idea that the cancer could come back that quick. I mean, I was probably cancer free for almost 2 years. So, in essence of that, I checked myself into 3 different hospitals in Arlington, Virginia, because I didn't know my way around, but I was just trying to seek help. So after going to 3 different hospitals, the final hospital I went to was a women's hospital in, oh my God, I forget what part of Virginia it is, so you have to forgive me, but they specifically told me, Miss Willis, you need to go back to Texas. And I said, why do I need to go back to Texas? The doctor told me, you need to go back to Texas because you have cancer. A big disappointment for me. At that point, I had made up my mind that I didn't want to live anymore because I felt like a failure. I felt like I put all this work into getting well the first time. My third chemo treatment, I was back in the gym with the ostomy bag. I was, it was just that important to me that I get I get well, and I knew that I was strong enough to do it. I pretty much predict that whole little situation, that whole 6 months that I was going through treatment. I pretty much predict that. I knew that I was going to be okay after that last treatment. I knew that they were going to take the ostomy bag off that following year. I predict that whole situation. So me hearing that I have cancer, it was a blow. So I'm on the first plane, back to Texas, and I immediately went back. I immediately went to the hospital to see what, see what the situation was, to see where the cancer was, or was the cancer back in my colon. So I get my second diagnosed, and my cancer, it did return in the same area in my colon, and it also had spread it, through my body just that quick. It spread it through my pelvis area, and it had spread it to my lungs and to my liver in that short period of time. So I'm back with another ostomy bag. It's an ileostomy this time, which involves the small intestine. From that diagnosis up until probably a couple of months, I was convinced that I just didn't want to live. I didn't. I just didn't want to live. I felt if it came back, it just wasn't meant for me to be here. So I had practically given up. I was dealing with 0 ounce of faith. There was nothing you can tell me. You could tell me to pray all day long, but I just wasn't buying it, because I got cancer a second time. So I felt that it just wasn't meant for me to be here. So probably after 6 months, well, I want to say this, during this second diagnosis, this cancer was very debilitating to me. I found myself, I couldn't walk, I couldn't move my legs, I couldn't eat, and it wasn't my doing. It's just something that came along with this cancer this time. And no matter how much I tried to implement what I did the previous time, it just wasn't working. It just wasn't working. I was trying to eat to put the weight back on, because you lose so much weight with bowel obstructions. They take you off food. I was off food for 30 days. So I lost about 45 pounds. So, and it was actually that way the first time. So I'm trying to follow the regimen that I did the first time. And I'm eating, and I'm up walking, I'm outside walking, but I just couldn't pull it off. And at that point, I felt like I had already lost the battle. So after maybe a year and a half, and after 3 oncologists, the first 2 oncologists I went to, they told me that there was nothing that they could do for me. They could make me comfortable. I didn't understand what make me comfortable was, because I was in the bed all the time, but I wasn't sure what that meant. The third oncologist had me on chemo. The chemo was so dreadful to where it just made me sick. I had never felt like that. I didn't feel that bad the first time. I was able to go to the gym after taking chemo, but I don't know what this was that this particular oncologist had given me. But when it was all over, I had already taken 72 rounds of chemo. 72 rounds. And when it was all over, I did my scans, and the doctor came to me and he said, well, your tumor has gotten larger, and the cells in your lungs have spread. And I'm just numb. I'm numb because chemo makes you feel so bad. You figure, how could something make me feel so bad turned out not to be good, because I thought that's what the fight was all about, was putting that poison, that crap, and that's what I call it, putting that in your system. I felt that it had to work. If my body had to go through all of this and I had to feel this way for days, this stuff had to be working. But the chemo did nothing. It did nothing for me. So I'm I'm convinced that I'm going to die. I'm convinced at this point that I'm going to die. I always knew that I was going to die, before, but at this point, I realized that I was going to die. All kind of things going through my head, uh, what will life be without, for my daughter, without me, my family. It's just all kind of things start going through your head when you're talking about death, and especially when you know that you're going to die. And I knew it. I felt organs shutting down. I felt my body getting weak. I felt all of that. I felt, you could maybe call it a outer body experience, but I knew that my body was shutting down. I knew it was shutting down. So I happened to be at a store, and there was a lady there with her children, and she noticed that I had a port, and she was, you know, I mean, high spirited. She was speaking to everybody in the store, and she goes, "Well, I just had treatment today, myself." And I'm there at the cash register. I'm behind her, and I just broke down at the cash register, crying, because I had just got news from my doctor that I was dying. That was the best phone call I had ever made in my entire life. I had never met a doctor that would implement nutrition, exercise, stress relief, and and it may be, dumb on my part, but you know the blood is a major component. It detects just about everything. And the doctor that I'm dealing with, he hates to be called an oncologist. He wants to be called a hematologist. He said, I specialize in blood, so we'll refer to him as the hematologist. But um, that that call, it changed my life. It did. It changed my life. The first appointment, I think I was probably there maybe about 3 hours, because he wanted to hear everything I had to say about my experience, about what I was going through, about what I was feeling, the whole 9 yard. He wanted to know who I was. And after that, his question to me was, are you ready to be my patient? So I told him yes, I was. And he kind of gives you the feel of a school teacher, because he gives you homework. You have to write down, what you eaten, how much you took in, how it made you feel. He wants to know that. He wants to know that. So um, I'm juicing my fruits and my vegetables, because I can't digest them whole. That's the purpose of the bowel obstruction, because my body doesn't, digest the peelings and the seeds and all that good stuff. But when I told the doctor that I was juicing, he goes, "You're already on the step to saving your life." He goes, have you have taken the first step into saving your life." I started exercising. I meet with him once a week. every 3 weeks. My CEA, which is your cancer, your cancer. Well, your CEA just basically it monitors if the cancer is spreading, or if it's gotten bigger, or that type of thing. My CEA went from 7.30 to 1. I started going to this doctor in October of 2014. By 2014, November of 2014, my CEA went down to 1. It went down to 1. That point in my life, that was literally the first time I was able to look in the mirror and I could see myself coming back. My skin was no longer dense, the jaundice was gone. It was just like looking at a person, that had been revived. That's what it looked like. So I'm constantly, when I go in for treatment, it's probably about maybe 12 of us in there, and I am preaching about y'all need to juice, juice, and it's funny because they look at you crazy, like, what are you talking about, and then you have some, I'm gonna eat what I want to eat, but I actually had a couple of people to jump on board, because they like the way that I look. They like the way that I look. They see a healthy person. I haven't. I'm still 20 pounds. Shy of what I should be, but you still can see a healthy person. I see a healthy person when I look, in the mirror. I feel amazing. I haven't had this much energy in almost a year and a half. Almost a year and a half. I feel great. I do. I feel great. I feel like a completely, different person. So, the health aspect of it, I think it's great when you can have a doctor to implement those things in your, in your treatment. I think it's great when they tell you how important, it is. And I think it's a train of thinking, too. I just think a lot of times, when you're sick, you say, hey, I'm sick. I'm supposed to look like this, or I'm supposed to feel like this. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. When I had the surgery back in 2013, they weren't able to get any of the cancer. Believe it or not, I don't even believe that I have cancer anymore. That's just me. That's just me. I could be wrong. I have nobody's PhD, but that's just the way I feel. If I feel I don't have it, so I'm not gonna claim it. So that's just my thoughts, on that. Also, just left a big part of it out. I wanted to share my treatment, with everyone. I'm not taking a typical chemotherapy. None of that. I take something which is called immune therapy. It could be different for each cancer patient. The beauty of this doctor, again, is that your treatment is customized for you. For what you have going on. There could be, 2 other people with colon cancer, but our treatments are not the same. It's not the same. So I'm just in a good place, physically, with the whole aspect of this, of this cancer thing. So emotionally, I think that was the hardest part for me. I was dealing with um, aspects of the cancer, that was the biggest. That was bigger than the actual cancer to me. And what I mean by that is you you know you people find out that you're sick. You have tons and tons of people coming to see you. Everybody's got something different to say. Everybody's got different expectations of you. And everybody knows what a cancer patient should look. Everybody is just full of information, supposedly for your benefit. The remedy I found for that, it was one night, I was feeling awful, and I wasn't feeling awful physically. I was feeling awful emotionally. I was really, really sad, and I took my little weak body, and I actually got on my knees, and I actually prayed. I actually prayed to the Lord, and I said, I need help. I actually prayed, and that was something I had never ever done in my 40-some years on this face of the earth. And I'm gonna be honest about it. That was something I had never done. And for the first time, I felt God speaking to me. So I understand what that means when you say, God spoke to me. That is an absolute truth. He will speak to you. And as I was on my knees praying, I just felt him speaking to me, talking over me. Because when I opened up the prayer, I said, Lord, I don't know how to pray, but the words just started flowing. They just started flowing, and they just started coming out, and I started, asking, God for what I wanted, and He actually spoke to me, and He said, "Girl, you got clean house. You got some mess that you need to clean up." And I knew what it was all along. I knew what it was. After that revelation, I'm telling you, it was nothing but peace and joy from that day on. I get so emotional when I talk about that because it's like $1 million. Everybody don't have it. It's, I don't know. It's something that joy, I can't explain it. I'd rather for it to show because I can't explain it. I just can't explain it. But it's a good feeling to me, and that's when I realized that I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna be here to see my grandbabies. I'm gonna be here. Uh, I'm gonna be here to see my great grandbabies. I'm gonna be here because the first time I was able to predict that whole situation, but with this recurrence, I had no control over it. I had no choice but to get some help. I had no choice but to turn to God. I had no choice. The support groups and the people that were coming to see me on a regular basis, they were serving me no justice. And I said, how do people make it through this? How do people, how do they make it through this? My mother was doing all she can, but I needed something. Once I realized what it took for me to be happy and to feel secure with myself and to start living and stop being a cancer patient, the world just opened up for me. Opportunities opened up for me. I got a modeling contract, at 46 years old with cancer. I'm modeling, couture clothes. I'm being invited to, share my story and, share my thoughts. I do volunteer work. I go and speak to other cancer patients. Mainly, I sit with them and we go by the day as normal as possible, because I know I don't like feeling like a patient, and I wanted them to not feel like every time this person comes around me, we're always talking about cancer. That's not it at all. That's not it at all. And I think what really makes me feel good is that when I do go and visit, especially the females, I go and I visit them, and they tell me, they say, Sandra, I wanna do what you doing. How did you get to that point? How did you get to that point? In your life. I just decided I was gonna live, but I had to do the things that needed to be done in order for me to live and to live a healthy life. It consisted of eating healthy, eating clean, doing the little exercise that I could do, and keeping my mind clean. This is the control tower. This thing controls everything. So when I got all of those three things, and I can't leave out, I can't leave out what God has done for me. I definitely can't do that. So with those four things, you can't go wrong with them. You can't go wrong with them. So it's something that I don't mind sharing. I could say it, I could tell it over and over and over again. But it's something else. It's something else that I wanted to share about my especially this recurrence. I wanted to share some things that I didn't experience, the first time. As I would go to the different, support groups, and this is when I realized I didn't need support groups. A lot of the support groups, the foundation is built off of breast cancer. More than likely the person, the woman that started the support group, she's a breast cancer. She's a breast cancer survivor. So I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine, and she gave it the perfect name. She said, "That's discrimination in the cancer community." And when I thought about it, and I was like, "Hey, there is such a thing," because when you think about it, when I realized I was going to the support groups, and I had a woman come to me one time, and she asked me, she said, "So did you have to have your breast removed?" And I said, "Well, I don't have breast cancer." I said, "I have colon cancer." And she just immediately cut off her conversation, and she walked over to the next woman, and she asked her the same question, and the lady was like, "Yeah," and they tap. They chopped it up, the rest of the meeting. And I had a few women approach me, and when I told them that I had, colon cancer, it was like they didn't have anything. They didn't have anything to say to me. Cancer is cancer. I thought it was all bad. So I guess what I would like to see. I would like to see. Maybe I would like to see a colon cancer. Support. Group. Colon cancer. It goes beyond a lump. It does. It goes beyond a lump. The thing about breast cancer, you can have your breast removed, you have your breast tissue removed, and you can get rewarded with some nice new perky ones. But when you think about colon cancer, you're thinking about what comes along with it. The the part of your colon, it's part of your rectum. So we all know what comes out of what comes out of your rectum. So it's hard for you to find the glamour, the glamour in that. You have the scars, such as myself. I'll never be able to do a midriff, because I have two big scars where my ostomies were, and not to mention the scar I have down the middle of my stomach, and you think about the people who have to wear ostomy bags, permanently, because they had to have their rectum, removed. So, it does feel like it does in a way. It does feel like there's some type of discrimination. But through it all, with myself, I found the beauty in it. I've found a way to surpass all of that. I've met a few people say that they won't even leave their house, because they're so uncomfortable, with with that ostomy bag, and what it entails. But I found a life, I found a lifestyle, with my ostomy. So, um, to through it all, I'm already a survivor. I am already a survivor. So, thank you for listening to my story.